This is almost as entertaining as the time we made that countdown video. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 funniest cutaway scenes on Family Guy. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're paying tribute to what we believe are the funniest non-sequiturs, tangents, and/or interrupting scenes of Seth MacFarlane's hit animated sitcom, based on the setup, context, and punchline. We'll only be covering the actual cutaway scenes, so TV spoofs fresh out of the Griffin family's television are ruled out. While the gags themselves are usually irrelevant to the main episode plot, the setup could have potential spoilers. Number 10. Will Smith's nice, clean rap. After successfully winning over the popular kids, Stewie thinks that he's even better than Will Smith's nice, clean rap. We then cut to the Fresh Prince himself in the recording booth laying down a lukewarm beat about good behavior.
Ooh, I respect women when I'm on a date. I take them to the park or maybe a museum and I only try to kiss them if they're ready. Woohoo!
The DVD commentary states that this cutaway was a jab at Will Smith's rap song Parents Just Don't Understand. You'd expect someone with Smith's comedic abilities to be a little less kid-friendly with his music. But to be fair, his early work wasn't like your typical vulgar rap numbers.
Wipe your shoes on the mat when you come in the house. Someone just clean that floor. Woohoo! Say what?
This gag just takes that fact to hilarious new levels, showing what would happen if he went full-on squeaky clean with his music. Number 9. Fire Trucks documentary on National Geographic. After answering an easy trivia question during game night, Peter counts his blessings that he watched a National Geographic special about fire trucks. We then cut to a small snippet from the aforementioned documentary, where we see a fire truck stalking an animal herd, not unlike a lion. Once it's found its meal, the truck protects it from savage ambulances hoping to snag a bite.
The ambulances will have to wait their turn.
This gag is too ridiculous to not be funny, and it even has a follow-up near the end of the episode. Peter catches a fire truck stalking outside his house, but the truck shows him why it's the king of the emergency vehicles. Number 8. Stubborn as a mule. Once the Griffins arrive in Texas, Brian warns the family that Texans can be as stubborn as a mule.
Nope, sorry, Kevin Bacon wasn't in Footloose.
To emphasize his point, we're then shown a cutaway of a mule arguing with a friend, refusing to admit that Kevin Bacon was in 1984's Footloose even though he totally was. His friend tries to make him see reason, but the mule is not having any of it. He constantly blocks out the protest and ends the argument in the loudest way possible.
Everyone knows Kevin Bacon was a star of Footloose. It was a huge movie. He was the lead.
Not only does the cutaway end hilariously, it's also relatable for anyone who's had to deal with that one jerk who can't stand being wrong about anything, facts or no facts. Number 7. Robert Loggia at the airport. What's worse than having to wait in line? How about waiting behind someone who's taking way too long at the check-in clerk?
May I have your name, please?
Robert Loggia.
Can you spell that for me?
Certainly. That's Robert Loggia. R as in Robert Loggia. O as in, oh my God, it's Robert Loggia.
Peter recalls a time when he was forced to experience this very scenario when he was stuck behind Robert Loggia checking in at the airport. That doesn't sound so bad, except Robert agonizingly spells out his name with expressions about calling attention to himself.
T as in Tim. Look over there. It's Robert Loggia. Space. L as in look. It's Robert Loggia.
We can't say if Robert was really like this, but the situation is just too bizarre to not be funny, especially considering how frustrating going through an airport really is. The one downside is that we don't get to hear Robert finish spelling himself out.
Not okay!
Number 6. Stewie's relaxation spot. Before the Griffins head out for a relaxing weekend, Stewie thinks back to his personal favorite relaxation spot. We then immediately cut to the toddler dancing shirtless at a nightclub, surrounded by muscular, also shirtless men with high-energy music blasting through the speakers.
I know the guy that owns this place!
It's hard to tell what the major punchline of this gag is. Is it poking fun at Stewie's ambiguous sexuality, or is it the fact that he finds relaxation in a crowded nightclub with loud thumping music? Either way, it offers a short and funny look into how our favorite sociopathic baby unwinds after a long, stressful day of plotting and scheming. Number 5. Alan Rickman calls himself. While waiting for Cleveland, Peter remarks that his beer looks lonelier than Alan Rickman's answering machine. Immediately, we cut to said answering machine, where Alan Rickman calls himself for a few friendly reminders.
Hello. You've reached Alan Rickman at 555-0122. Please leave a message at the beep.
It's sad that people are too scared to give Alan a call, but it's also hysterical to hear such simple memos to himself being spoken in his trademark steady, intimidating tone. Obviously, they couldn't get the real Alan to voice himself. It would have been a miracle if they could, but Alex Sulkin does a fairly impressive impersonation, right down to his mannerisms.
Alan, it's me again. Remember that turtle joke for the party?
If Alan were still alive today, we're sure he'd be flattered, or at least have a good chuckle. Number 4, Peter joining book club? Peter gets invited to Ryan Reynolds' housewarming party, and he believes it'll be way more fun than what usually happens on Friday nights at the Griffin home. It turns out that Friday is the night Lois hosts her book club meeting. She invites Peter to join them, he cheerfully says yes, and then gruesomely breaks his own neck.
Yeah, that sounds great. Anything beats what goes on at my house Friday nights. Hey, Lois, what's going on here?
Oh, it's my book club, Peter. Come, join us.
Oh, okay.
It's true that not everyone wants to be dragged into a book club, but this is a bit of an overreaction on Peter's part. On the other hand, maybe he just doesn't want to relive his last book club meeting.
Here's another thing. The book can also be a hat.
Either way, that is definitely one graphically effective method to escape an unwanted situation. Number 3, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Conway Twitty. Whenever anyone, especially Peter, needs a quick distraction from an awkward moment, a poorly done joke, or to pad out the show, they call on a little help from the late Conway Twitty.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Conway Twitty.
Nice to see you.
After those 6 little words, we cut to a short video of Mr. Twitty's musical performances, every now and then altered with photoshopped headwear for the musician.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Conway Bieber.
While not always used gracefully, this has become one of Family Guy's most memorable running gags, and it definitely fulfills the need to create a diversion.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Conway Twitty.
There's no need in going over.
It could also be seen as a funny tribute to the departed musician, though Mr. Twitty might not see it that way.
Conway Twitty says cut it out. Just write a joke.
Number 2, Peter's life, narrated by Peter. When Peter worries about Chris's new phase, Lois and Brian remind him of one of his own previous stages, when he spent 2 weeks narrating his own life.
I looked with a grimace at the questionable meal Lois had placed in front of me. Of course, I'd never tell her how disgusted I was with her cooking, but somehow I think she knew.
We then cut to this aggravating phase in action as Peter narrates while eating dinner with Lois, only to hurt her feelings with some rather insensitive storytelling. Lois rightfully cleans his clock, only for him to wake up hours later and pick up where he left off.
I awoke several hours later in a daze.
Not only is it humorous to see Karma literally punch Peter in the face, it also shows that he's actually a fairly decent storyteller, if only he could control his own words. Before we reveal our number 1 cutaway gag, here are some honorable mentions.
Oh, this is an even bigger jackpot than when the Emperor figured out the formula for great Star Wars dialogue.
Something, 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 dark side. Something, 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 complete.
Come on, Lois, all I gotta do is have a spiritual vision. I've had one before. Oh my God, Brian, there's a message in my alphabet. It says, ooh.
Peter, those are Cheerios.
Well, this was a lot of effort for nothing. Like trying to tell Matthew McConaughey how much he sucks. You know, Matthew, I may not ever get another chance to say this, so I just want to get this off my chest. You are just awful. You're one of the worst actors in the history of film, and I think that you need to go away.
Oh, thanks, man. The truth is, I spend at least 90% of my year going away, exploring exotic places, having sex with my beautiful girlfriend, just doing sit-ups.
Number 1, Chester Cheetah's addiction. Out of all the food mascots, Chester Cheetah was arguably one of the coolest, until you gave him a handful of Cheetos. Then he was dangerously cheesy. When Stewie thinks himself cooler than Chester, we see a whole new side of our favorite cheetah, one that inhales Cheetos like cocaine and smashes his hand while listening to heavy rock.
Oh, God, there is no drummer better than Neil Peart!
It ain't easy being cheesy.
This is a prime example of one of the show's most hysterical cutaway gags, showing the dark side to our favorite cartoon or TV characters as they become more and more like rundown celebrities than fictional people, further proving that we really have lost those good old-fashioned values. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Watch Mojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.